Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of White Collar Coffee Conversations. As a group of forensic accountants who work with attorneys and investigators on cases related to financial fraud, complex commercial litigation, valuation damages, and many other issues, we're putting together brief interviews with leaders across the financial and legal world to provide you with insights on our work and a look at the trends going forward. I'm Chris Eckimoff, a CPA with experience in fraud cases, Ponzi schemes, and white-collar litigation. On this episode of WC3, we're talking about the legal profession itself and the nuances to representing defendants in white-collar matters. Here with us today is Sara Kropf, a former Big Law partner who hung out her shingle and is a co-founder of Kropf Moseley PLLC. Sara is an experienced trial lawyer who defends both people and companies. She loves to represent the underdog, whether in a white-collar criminal case against the DOJ, an investigation by a federal Office of Inspector General or the SEC, or in civil litigation. Sara treats every case as high stakes, whether big or small. That is a tough bill, Sara, but we'd love to have you. Welcome to White Collar Coffee Conversations.
Great to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Sara, we've known each other for a long time working together. I won't say how many years ago. We don't want to date ourselves. But I'm always interested in catching up with you and see how you and your firm are doing. Can you share with us some of the unique experiences you've had working on the defense side for your clients?
Yeah, so I have always been a defense lawyer, which is a little unusual in this field. A lot of white-collar defense lawyers were prosecutors at some point. I came up always as a defense lawyer, meant to be a public defender, and then had too many student loans. So I've been doing this probably about 20 years, and, you know, I enjoy representing individuals. I enjoy representing smaller companies. And I think the things that I've seen over the years that have been sort of most interesting are watching sort of three different types of clients. You know, one are the government employees, and the government employees who oftentimes investigations start with just a little, what they think is a government ethics matter, and it all of a sudden turns into a full-blown criminal investigation. The second type of client we represent a lot of, and I really enjoy, are the individuals, the corporate executives who are caught up either in complex antitrust matters, whether it's price fixing, bid rigging, or sort of complex accounting matters. I mean, accounting fraud, healthcare fraud, things like that. Those cases are always fascinating because I'm representing the individual, usually a big firm representing the company, and we're navigating that relationship for the employee who's oftentimes still a current employee. And then the third type of client, which I absolutely love because it brings together the three things that we do, are the government contractors. And those are the companies that do work with the federal government. There's a lot of money flowing back and forth. And they're interesting because there'll be a criminal investigation, a traditional grand jury investigation, oftentimes a civil False Claims Act case, either ongoing or sort of is coming next. And then there will be administrative suspension and debarment potential proceedings. And so navigating all three of those things, trying not to do harm on the potential later civil side while you're getting out of the criminal side, there's all sorts of interesting strategy decisions to make there.
One of the things we talked about in this, thinking about this episode, is one of the things you deal with your clients in a gap between their perception of the criminal justice system or their potential case and what's real, what reality is out there. And I made the joke, you can read a lot of John Grisham novels, but that's not actually how the court system might work. So talk to us a little bit about how you adjust your clients' expectations in approaching that reality versus perception gap.
Yeah, that is, I think for the type of clients that we deal with, it is a shock to the system. Pretty much all of our clients, I'm struggling to think of even one, they've never touched the criminal justice system before, right? They've watched TV, they watch movies the way we all have, which as lawyers and accountants, we know that's not exactly how it works. But they've never been involved with the criminal justice system before. And so it is a really, really rude awakening. A lot of them have the perception that the criminal justice system is fundamentally fair, that the criminal justice system works, that it treats people fairly. And it's an unfortunate reality that is just not true. And a lot of that is just systemic. It's not a matter of a prosecutor doing something wrong. It's a matter of the way the system is set up. And so oftentimes my clients, I have to explain, even though they're smart professionals, well-educated, lawyers, doctors, et cetera, they don't understand how the system works. And so part of what both Andrea and I do is we are explaining the system to our clients as we're helping them get through it. So for example, one of the biggest surprises for people is, especially professionals who have, owned their own business or have been through civil litigation, they expect the same level of discovery in a criminal case. They expect that the government is going to have to tell them what the case is about, who are the witnesses, what are the key documents, just like in a civil case. And the exact opposite is true. You have very, very few rights. You don't get to depose anyone. So you go to trial, you've never talked to any of the key witnesses. You've never gotten to ask them any questions. You don't know what they're going to say until they get on the stand. Same with sort of paper discovery, right? We're very used to the civil litigation system where you get a lot of discovery, you get to ask whatever you want, you get to demand what you want, you can serve third-party subpoenas. Totally different in the criminal system. You don't get to do that. You don't get to freely ask for information that might be critical for your defense from other people. So there's that education about just the process. How does it work? And then for some clients who are accused of really serious matters, there's a very difficult and uncomfortable process of explaining the mechanics of what it's like to be in jail. Right? It's never a fun moment when we get to the point in a case and it's very, very clear that the client either would be convicted at trial if they plan to fight it or need to take a plea, and really explain to them how that process is going to go, what it's going to look like where they're going to serve their time, what that type of institution is going to look like. Those are really, on a personal level, difficult, particularly when it's a client who has kids, who maybe has kids about my kids' age or younger, and are looking at a lengthy, prison sentence at the end of it. That uncertainty, that fear of losing that time with their children, their family, and things, it weighs on us as lawyers, but it's really difficult for our clients as well. There is definitely a perception, I think, that's been sort of perpetuated by the media that white-collar defendants don't get long sentences. Now, there is a definite truth to that when you look at sentences that are handed out regularly for narcotics and things like that, no question. But the fact of the matter is, what sounded to my clients like a short sentence in the past, 2, 3, 4 years, it doesn't sound like very much time. When you start putting in the terms of your client and missing 2, 3, 4 years of your life, of your family, of parents being sick, of professional things, I mean, it's a very, very long time. So there's a lot of my job, and more than I anticipated when I started. I thought, I'd just be a lawyer, right? I'd go write briefs, I'd go to court. It turns out there's a lot of sort of hand-holding through the process. And that's something that I actually really enjoy, but it is the hard part of the job.
Yeah, and that's kind of another thing I'm interested in talking about with you, Sarah, is, representing the underdog, like it says on your law firm bio. I mean, the underdog doesn't always win, so there's got to be some emotional drain. I envision you pushing a legal document up Sisyphus's hill, right? Trying to push that rock up and not always winning. So what motivates you? What brings you back every day to help your clients and to take these underdog type cases?
Yeah, I mean, really every criminal case, you're an underdog. In many ways, even if you represent the most powerful company or the most powerful individual, or, it is incredibly difficult to win one of those cases, and the wins are few and far between. So yeah, as a criminal defense lawyer, you have to find your why somewhere else other than just you like to win. I like to win. I mean, I am competitive, right? I like to win. It's hard to go up against a lawyer on the other side who's not as good, not as well prepared, and consistently lose. But that does happen in our line of work. The things that keep me going are probably sort of threefold. One is I like the fight. I mean, that to me is important. It goes with number 2, which is I love my clients, right? Sometimes your client, after you've explained, hey, we are likely going to lose this. This is how this is going to go. I'm going to make the best arguments I can. They need someone to stand up and defend them, right? That is part of the process too. Even if it's not going to turn out well, that is part of our process. It's part of what makes a client feel better. Sometimes, you'll feel like the only person in their corner who's getting up and fighting for them. So those 2 things are important. And then, the third is just the corny law school stuff, To Kill a Mockingbird, the Constitution, right? I mean, this is, this process is important. I think it's, if anyone reads my blog, I think it is often deeply flawed and very unfair, but it's a really important process. It's the best one we have. And so being a criminal defense lawyer it's fun to sometimes get to rely on the Constitution and cite that as in support of your arguments. Unfortunately, they usually lose, but those kind of three things are what gets me up in the morning.
Well, that's great. And we always love to leave our viewers and listeners with a little bit of hope, Sara. So even though it can be a tough battle uphill for the underdogs, we're so glad that you're out there doing that work. For those of you interested in learning more about Kropf Moseley, please check out their website. Sara's blog, Grand Jury Target, is amazing. Hits on a lot of these nuanced issues in the white-collar criminal and civil cases that she's worked on in those areas. So, Sara, thank you for joining us.
It was great to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We want to thank our viewers and listeners out there for your interest in this podcast and video series. If you've got a topic you'd like us to discuss in the future, please reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn at EkimofCPA to get connected. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, here's to good coffee and good conversation.